Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are fine. Today, we are present here for the workshop conducted by Royal School of Business in collaboration with IIT Roorkee. It's my pleasure to introduce you to a highly skilled and accomplished data scientist, Mr. Krishnan A. Sesadrinathan. In today's data-driven world, the role of data scientist is more important than ever. And here we are fortunate to have someone with such expertise with us. He's currently working as senior data scientist at Rajasthan Royals. He has expertise in solving problems in sports, media, manufacturing, and supply chain. He's skilled in data visualization, developing ML models, SQL, Python programming, and end-to-end system architecture that helps organizations make better decisions. His work has helped businesses to identify new opportunities, optimize their operations, and increase their profitability. In addition to his technical skills, a great data scientist is also an effective communicator. Data scientists are able to translate complex data analysis into insight that can be understood by stakeholders across different departments. We are honored to have him here today with us. I'm confident that you will find the insight and expertise to be invaluable. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Krishnan. So you can start.
Yeah. Hello all. Morning. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you firstly for having me. And also thank you for coming on a Saturday morning. So I'm fairly sure like you guys must have had good Friday evening, and thank you for joining at least a little early on Saturdays. So appreciate that. So I'll just get started very quickly. And for that, I just want to know any Royals fans in the house.
Huh?
I don't think see many Royals fans, but hopefully by the end of the session we would have been able to get a few. There are only so many Mumbai Indians fans that you can have in the world, so it should be good. I'm hoping everybody can see my presentation, and
Yes, sir.
And in the case that there are any questions, what I'll do is I'll take some of them in the end, and you can we'll have like a long Q&A session, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes or more. So I'll try to finish the presentation as quick as I can. So if there are any extra questions, I can answer them towards the end. So I'll just answer all of them in one go. Cool. So I'll just get started, and then also try to make this a little interactive as much as possible. And so if there's like any things or not, we can just figure that part of it out. Like if there's any questions that I want to
Nothing,
ask,
sir.
like
I think you can start.
yeah, no, like I'm saying like I'm gonna make it as interactive as I can. So other than the questions which will come in the end, we're gonna like there are a couple of questions that I will ask in between. So yeah, just to start off with, like just giving an overview on like what sports analytics actually is. There's like a very boring definition, which is management of data, application of predictive and analytical models that utilize this data, and we have systems that help inform decision makers and enable them to make better decisions. And you at the end of the day, you want to get a competitive edge over anybody who's your opposition. So you want to try and make the best decisions possible, whether it's in terms of in cricket, whether it's recruitment or in other domains, whether it's in terms of your supply vendors or your marketing or operations and so on, right? So you want to figure out areas that you want to optimize on, and you want to make the best decisions possible. So data is an evidence-based approach that helps you get to where you want to go. And again, communication is a huge thing. So you've got to be able to take complex data and put it into like a form where people are able to understand. Because not everybody in the world will be able to understand every single thing that you say. So you've got to be able to put it into a form of either stories or visualizations, right? So wherever you are, right, analytics won't mean anything if you are only going to like keep it on a computer screen. So you need to be able to present it to like whoever you want to, and you need to be able to communicate it effectively and well. So that being said, I'm just going to go to the next slide. The objective of analytics, right, is to make the best possible evidence-based decisions and provide value beyond traditional judgments, right? So we all have limits, right? So humans are bound by a lot of different limitations. We're human at the end of the day, and we only have 24 hours in a day. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a video, and I'm going to pause in between and just ask for a couple of answers in between a few. So yeah, so there's a chat window. I could just type in like how many passes do you think were there, and I can just he says 9, 11, 12, 13, 10, 15, 10, 11, 12. No, yeah. So the guys who got, there are a couple of people who got the right answer. So just gonna, the answer is gonna come up right now. This, yeah, 15. Yeah, like, so exactly. So this, exactly, because, for example, going into cricket, you're looking at a particular batter or you're trying to look at a particular bowler, and you will mostly be looking at a particular aspect of that batter or a bowler. And a cricket T20 game is closely 3.5 to 4 hours. And so you are looking at one player in one game, and there are 22 players in the game. So you're not going to be able to, take in every single game that goes on in the world and then analyze every single player. So because at the end of the day we're human, and you'll, you'll mostly be able to 2 to 3 games maximum in a day. And you know at the end of the day, there's also inherent biases that we all have. And sometimes, let's say like the gorilla comes in, you'll find some distractions coming in, and then you might lose count and you might lose touch with it. So accuracy tends to come down and biases start to creep in, and those will lead to suboptimal decisions that we'll all have to make. And so, which is why analytics and data is important, because it helps you build a scalable solution to analyze things in multiple ways. So, sorry. So we've all seen this again uh, thing with, if you watch cricket, when Sunil Gavaskar has been commentating, he'll tell you like takes after taking a single after a six is a smart batting. The question is it actually smart batting, right? And like, Cricinfo at one point of time had commissioned a research to see if it's actually smart batting or not. And again, if anybody has some comments on it, you could just type it out. I'll just check it on the chat. Is my voice better? No? Hello. A couple of people are saying that my
Yes,
voice isn't
sir.
clear. Is this better? Is this better?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Now it's better.
Awesome. Okay. I'm just coming closer. But so again, right? Like we've all seen this, but is it actually smart batting or not? It's a question that I'm asking. Depends on the match situation. Depends on if the third ball was good or easy. Okay, cool the nerves. Okay, depends on player skills because you can't hit every ball. Okay, depends on match situation, depends on bowler. Exactly, right? So I think there is actually a little more nuance to it in the sense that it's sometimes smart batting, sometimes it's not. So Cricinfo actually found a bit of research. They did a bit of research which says that staying on strike for a bigger sequence of deliveries makes it more likely that a boundary will be scored. And so because of the difference in format, so in ODIs, because you've got to play 50 overs and you've got 2.5 times the number of overs remaining, you actually don't want to take as much risk as you can and you are allowed to do in T20s. And so, you know, it depends basically on the matchup. So if your opposition is if your non-striker is a bad matchup, then sometimes strike rotation is actually a suboptimal decision. And if you've already hit 2 sixes, most likely than not, you're in good form. You're seeing the ball well, so you might as well stay on strike to go after a few more sixes, right? So uh, it might not be smart batting after all. So then the question comes to this, right? Because there's always the notion in sports that analytics isn't a good thing. And I'm just going to play a video to talk about some of the common challenges that, people in the analytics world face. I'm just going to play this video. Okay. So there's no volume
Sir,
on
I
this.
think the video,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah.
Okay. So basically, what this guy is trying to say is that analytics is a bit of crap. He thinks that, and this is a very common notion that goes on across all sports. There are a lot of presenters who come on TV, former players who say like analytics is crap, and it's like it's not useful. It's just some nonsense that people are making up just to get into the field, and so on and so forth. But the question is, at the end of the day, you know, does it work? And I'm sorry for, I'll just share the link for the clip on the chat, everybody, so you guys can have a look at it later. But uh, you know, the question is, does it work? And sorry, the answer is it actually does. So if you look at basketball, the same sport that the guy Charles Barkley was commenting on, you can actually see that Golden State Warriors, who were the champions last year and they've won the championship, I think the last 8 years they've won 4 of the championships. So they're really, really good. So they use Google Cloud and everything to turn on-court data into a competitive advantage. So similarly, this player here, N'Golo Kante, who is a World Cup winner with France, who is also a part of the Leicester's Premier League championship team, he was actually found using data. And one of the reasons why he was rejected at a lot of places was just because of his height. So in the article over here, like the guy actually goes on to say, like how the analyst had to convince the coach that doesn't matter if he was height 5'7" or lesser, he's able to do everything else. So people ignore players for all sorts of reasons other than performance, right? So analytics helps to, you're still not able to hear? Hello?
Oh, now it's okay.
Yeah, okay, got it. So just, sorry, okay, sorry, man. I'll try to make it a little more interesting, Yogendra. Cool. But what I'm saying is that people, ignore for a whole host of reasons, which is not actually true. The sense that there'll be like some person is short, some person is tall, when that really has no significance to whatever you do, right? So, you know, data actually, what about just relying on analytics? Yes, uh, we will, I'll answer some of that questions a little at the end of the session. So I'll have a full Q&A sessions properly. Yeah, so analytics at the end of the day cuts through all of the human biases, like somebody is tall, somebody is short, somebody is fat, somebody is all of that. And it just focuses on like whether this person is able to contribute positively or whether you're able to make a difference to your bottom line at the end of the day. So yeah, and just so you know, like last season, our CPL team, we were able to predict the league table, like at least, except for the Trinbago team, we were able to get everything else in the same order. So we had our own valuation techniques using data, and we found, and like this was the order that we predicted, and it was almost the same order, except for the team in 3 finishing 6. Like it was the same order that we got. So it does work. And the evolution of analytics has been quite different. So, for example, it all started in baseball when this guy called Bill James wrote about his sabermetrics and evaluation of baseball teams, and that got popular, with Billy Bean and the movie Moneyball. So that's a great movie for anybody who wants to get and analyze, any understand statistics and how good it is. And then you look at how it's gone into like other sports, right? Whether it's Start DNA, which is a data science company that Arsenal acquired as a startup, and then you've got Daryl Morey in basketball, and then you've got NFL, and then cricket is actually like so much behind all of these sports, and it's actually just catching up now, right? Like so in 538, doing all of that for basketball. CricViz, who's working with RCB and KKR and and maybe I think DC as well, and they are like a very good organization doing really good analysis. StatsBomb do it in different sports, in like with the NFL and with football. And then like you can see MIT every year conducts a sports analytics conference that every like even people like Obama like are key speakers on that. Like everybody goes and visits that. It's a big event every year. And then Opta is also another company that does this. They also work with cricket data, and so they are a data provider. So the world of cricket is actually, how did it evolve, right? So we've got Cricinfo, who started off doing, like collecting scorecards and everything. So Cricinfo was like one of the forerunners in terms of analytics, like having scorecards, ball by ball data in the back end, and then we all have at one point of time or the other, if you've been a cricket fan, you've seen Cricinfo, and you've seen their scorecards and the commentary, and then people use some of that data. Later on, like the chess influence started, right? Like so, there are two big companies there. One is Sports Mechanics, and the other one is Kadamba, who are, uh, you know. So Chinmay, I'll answer your question. Just hold on to that. I'll come to that in the end. Good morning, Pradeepta. But the Chennai influence. So these are the two big companies that are like located very close to each other in Chennai, and they provide data for every single IPL team, most national teams in the world in cricket. So, like, these are two big companies that go beyond these to having data like line and length and what type of shot was played, what ball was bowled, and so on, whether it was a carom ball or whether it was leg break, off break, googly, and all of that. So these companies are still, quite big, and they work with every single IPL team in the country. I mean, not country, and then they also work with every other country in, sorry, like So Cricket Australia employs Kadamba as well. So they are like very, very big. And currently you've got companies that work on top of it. Somebody wants to annotate. So currently you've got ClickWiz and you've got like ClickSheet, who are data providers, and ClickWiz takes all of the data and then they start you know they start like putting their own intelligence on top of it by quantifying things and having extra metrics on top of whatever traditional stats that come through. And then you also have analytics that are used for a fantasy sense, right? Like so you have Dream 11, My 11 Circle, and all of that. So that's currently where the industry is right now. And then you also have in-house teams that do a lot of these things, like what we do at the Royals. Uh, so if you look at certain job roles, right? So what roles do you all expect to find? Because as students, right? Yeah, like I didn't forget about ClickBuzz. Like the ClickBuzz is relatively new, so they're not like analytics, uh, and I like I'm not going to allow anybody to annotate the content, so just stop sending requests. Sorry. Uh, so so what you would look at in terms of roles, right? Like you see the Houston Astros or Nationals, if you look at the roles that people have, like you have research and development, so you'll have one project at a time. You will have people who are full stack developers, so computer engineers can work there. They'll help you build APIs, or you will have to build like software applications. You'll have UX developers, you'll have data scientists, data engineers, people who code in software development. MBAs will also be there, but in a different domain. So in your sporting side of things, you will have everybody who's like engineers, and it's not too different from what you would find in like a tech company. Like so, somebody who's working in Google or Apple or Meta or something like that, you are not going to be out of place in the sports field. So it's very much the same skill sets that you will need to work here. And then you will have basketball research and development, sorry, baseball research, basketball research, all of that pretty much the same skill set. Whether it's looking at these, you'll see like R, Python, SQL, visualization tools like Power BI, trying to work on the cloud, obviously Microsoft Office. All of these are skill sets that typically people in the analytics domain will want to use. So if you look at like, so this is a role that's currently there with Newcastle United. So you will see that they look for degrees in computer science, math, statistics, so on. So and then experience, and sometimes they'll ask for experience in sport. But then if you look at essential skills, understanding machine learning, ability to identify trends, how to manage data and data pipelines, and so on. So they are not going to be different skill sets. You'll see from anywhere like that you get placed. So if you get placed some company, like at the end of the day, even if you work at Infosys or TCS, you will still be able to make the switch over to sports because it's pretty much the same skill set that you'll require. So yeah, so areas of application in sport, you'll have like on-field application, like you'll have pre-game analysis, post-game analysis, in-game analysis as well. You'll have a bit of videos that goes into all of these. And off-field, you'll have auctions, player transfers, you'll have drafts, you look at injury management, load management, you'll have player development, you have coaching tech. So all of these are areas of application. So as much as people say analytics and you look at the numbers, there's a lot of things that go into getting, including collecting your own data, cleaning, data engineering, and all of that. And then you actually present your insights to the coach and so on. So there are different areas in which it can apply, and this is just the sporting side of things, but you'll also have the non-sporting side of things in, for example, with the Royals, you'll be using data for like marketing, you'll be using it for some of our management operations, ticketing, stadium experience improvement. So data and analytics in general as a skill set can be applied to any part of any company, right? Like so, not just the sporting side. you know, check, right? Like, so there's a process to it, right? So there are different areas of, you know, analytics. And like I mentioned before, data engineering is the biggest part of the cupcake. And then data science is just the cherry on top of the cupcake, you know. So a lot of time is spent in refining, cleaning, standardizing your reports, figuring out your generic predictive analytics, in a sense, like why did certain things happen, like whether you want, like whether did you pick wickets in the power play, or like where did you end up, and so on and so forth. And then once you've set up your foundations, you get, you know, like it's an exponential growth after that. So then you'll have your predictive modeling, and then you'll have like your optimization on top of it, right? Like, so it could be lineup optimization, it could be lineups, deciding matchups based on like your opposition and the conditions and so on. But you want to have the best information possible, so you try to standardize your reporting. You make sure all of that's automated and all of that's a scalable solution. So pretty much these skill sets are very, very similar to what you will do in your IT jobs that all of you will get placed at mostly. Uh, yeah, so just giving you a few examples. So in football, you have something called as expected goals. So which is a metric designed to measure like the probability of a shot resulting in a goal. And so expected goals model, it'll take a lot of thousands of characteristics, and then it'll provide a value that the expectation of the shot sometimes is 0.2, right? So what it will say is like, so in general, that's a probability. So probability and statistics is a very, very key part of what you would be doing with sports analytics or data science on top of that. So a 0.2 would mean that it's a 20% probability of the shot becoming a goal. So if you took that shot 5 times, it'll result in a goal once. So you will end up learning things like logistic regression, linear regression. Those statistical tools will be like super useful for all of you here. And expected goals has become very, very popular in the world of football. And football also went through, you know, a period where people didn't believe in analytics and people didn't think that it's going to be useful. But now FIFA themselves have a huge data collection center, which is based, I think, in Switzerland, and then they use that to provide information to every single team that's playing in the World Cup, right? So this World Cup, they had like a standardized set of reports that they would give to every team at the end of the game and pre-game as well. And that's you know, it's like a 40-page report with all of these metrics, like forward passes, forward receptions, progressive passes, so many things. And it's actually now become the standard than the exception where only a couple of teams would work with analytics. So uh, yeah, so this is actually expected goals has pushed the envelope, and there's now so many more things that teams do with analytics in football. If you switch over to basketball, like, you know, so how do basketball teams win games? And so there's a guy called Dean Oliver who identified what he called as the 4 factors of basketball success. So he, so they ran a bit of regression analytics with winning. So Suchitra, like I'll come to the questions a bit at the end. I'll have a longer question and answer session, and I will answer all of the questions. So just keep all of these in. And so, for example, shooting, turnovers, rebounding, and free throws. So all of these, like they've weighted it, they'll run correlations and regressions to see how they correlate to winning percentages. And then, you know, they'll assign weights to all of these. And so more often than not, if you win the 4 factors in games, you're going to win like I think 80% or 90% of all games. So obviously all of these will come in with uncertainty. So understanding the confidence of your predictions, understanding uncertainty and variations or even variance is a very, very key thing. So these 4 factors were actually super key in are super key in sport of basketball and in cricket. So what we do is we have internally the what it takes to win research that we do at the Royals. So what we did last year is that we went back to the first principles thinking to figure out like how many wins that you need to win the IPL tournament, which helped us get to the top 2 position, right? Which, you know, the top 2 position is really what you want because it gives you the extra chance to go and make it into the playoffs. And how many wins you need for it, how many runs do you need to get to that, how many wickets do you need to take, what type of bowlers, what type of batters do you need. So we worked from first principles rather than saying that I need a particular name. So we worked saying like, this is how many runs that we need to achieve. These are the people who can help us get to those many runs, rather than saying I need a name. And because of that, we were able to get the players that we got, and we had like very good success last season, and we reached the finals and we lost, but like at least it was a successful season because, and a lot of that was underpinned by the fact that we had evidence-based decision making, and we were able to apply all of that. Uh, so the key principles that I would say when it comes to analytics is, and the first thing is actually asking the right questions. It seems like a very simple thing to say, but every time if you've got to ask the correct question at the time, right? Like sometimes what you'll see is like on TV, like a metric called Basra. No, Tableau is not mandatory. You can work with any other thing, but again, I'll answer all questions at the end. So, for example, you'll see on TV something like saying spin wickets is lesser than pace wickets on this particular ground. But that sometimes seems just like a very stupid thing to say, because in most games there'll be 12 overs of pace bowling and then 8 overs of spin bowling. So the chance for pace bowlers to get more wickets is like 4 more overs in every game. And so, like, really, it's not, like, should you bowl more pace or should you bowl more spin is actually not like a question to ask. The question then has to be put in with a lot more context. So, similarly, rather than saying, like, is this player going to be that, is going to be the best finisher, you've got to look into, like, what do you need from that particular role or from that particular batter? And then you work it backward and you work it from there, rather than like saying, is X a batter who's going to fit into the team? So asking the right questions is very important. Uh, so similarly, there's actually a metric that you'll see on TV, which comes, and I would strongly advise against using that. It's called BASRA, which is the batting average and strike rate addition, which to me is something where nobody should ever be using, because of basic physics principles. Like there are two different dimensions, right? One is runs per wicket and one is runs per ball. So it's like adding speed and time. You can't add two non-equal quantities. So anybody who uses Basra, that's like things that I would straight reject off the top, because that's super unscientific. Apart from that, like you'll have inherent biases in each person that you'll want to remove. Like one thing which you'll obviously see in cricket or in what's the auction, anybody who's done well close to the auction, they will get a lot of money and they'll get a huge bid going forward. So that's something like recency bias. So there's, I think, a guy called Richard Levy who scored like a century, I think, close to the IPL auction. I think at that point of time, it was the fastest century. He scored it in like some really small ground in New Zealand, and he got picked up for like a lot of money in the IPL, and that's a classic case of recency bias. So, and that person would have not done anything in like the 10 games leading up to the auction. So we've got to remove recency bias from whatever our analysis. Similarly, people will just come in with preconceived notions about players, like, and then they will expect that the data has to conform to whatever they want to say. So, like, somebody will come into the head thinking like X is a very bad player. Right? Like, sometimes they'll try to pick and cut, some small sample of data to just prove their point, and you've got to be able to cut through all of that noise and then say, like, you know what, spread is good in phases here and here, and then sometimes it's not done this. So you'll have things like sample size, weighting, and different uh, metrics that you'll use for that. But the goal of data isn't to confirm somebody's bias. The goal of data is to actually be very objective, and sometimes it can confirm or it rejects certain hypotheses that people have. So those are things that Yeah, Ravi, I'll answer your question at the end. I'm very close to wrapping up the presentation. So if you just keep your questions with you, I will answer every single question and I'll have a long extended Q&A session. So then the next few things is like, is the insight actionable, right? So for example, like Yorkers are very good, like we all have seen that in cricket, but then is that player going to be able to bowl Yorkers every single delivery? Is that player a Malinga, right? Like, so that's a question that you'll want to ask. So sometimes it might not be possible by that bowler to bowl a Yorker every 6 balls, right? So you've got to be able to you know make sure that you're the insight that you find, which is bowling Yorkers, it has to be actionable as well. So you need to be able to communicate and present your things in a way where you find the insight, and then you have to make sure that it is actionable for your players or coaching staff and so on. And at the end of the day, communication is important. You don't want to like put everybody in give them like 75% of the time that this has to happen. You don't want to go in and talk about probability and bore everybody to death like I'm boring all of you here. But you need to be able to communicate saying that X has a particular weakness, so it'll be good to target it rather than saying whole first ball over here, he doesn't hit it 90% of it. It doesn't make sense at all. So it's you need to be able to present and communicate your insights very well. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm done with the presentation. Thank you all for being patient. And so yeah, I'm open to all questions. So moderators, any questions that you've got, you could just go one after the other. Okay, there is Karthik Vaidya from Dharamshala. So moderator, do you just want to like go one after the other, or is that I can even like answer the questions if somebody's audio is up? All right, so I'm going to answer all of your questions. So 1 second. I'm just going to go back to the top of the chat, and then I'll go down one after the other. Right. So if I've missed something, you guys can just keep adding it to the chat box, given that the moderator isn't. Sorry. Hello.
All the participants can ask their questions in the chat box.
Yeah. So I'm just going to start with first Mayank
Hello.
Sharma. Because he'd asked a question which is about what is about relying on analytics, just like Morgan does as a captain. Morgan's been a very successful captain. England have done really well. KKR have done really well. So relying on analytics has proven to be successful. England have won 2 World Cups now, first team to hold both the ODI and the T20 World Cup. And Morgan has also been successful in the IPL. So analytics works, and the more you rely on it, the more you are unbiased in your analysis, the better it is for each team. That's my take on it. Then Chinmay Shah, how difficult is it to manage domestic players' data? The answer is it is difficult because there are tons of domestic games going on, and not everybody has access to all of those games. So it's definitely something to look out for. And yeah, I would definitely say that domestic players data is one of the toughest challenges that we've all got. So it's very difficult just to answer that question. And Aryan, I did not forget about ClickBuzz, but Cricinfo was the pioneer who started off the analytics. ClickBuzz is more of a recent addition, and they're just another Cricinfo. It's not like they provide like advanced analytics, which at least Cricinfo's got in terms of their impact index and all of that. So one of their data scientists was Gaurav Sundararaman, who's now with Sunrisers, and they just won the South African 20 tournament. So like smart people make a difference. So Chinmay, Crick Heroes is just coming up. They are very, very good for small level data, but then there's a lot of work that will need to go into taking Crick Heroes and making it actionable. But yes, that's definitely useful as well. Chinmay, MBAs could be useful in different areas. So not just in the cricketing side, but in the operation side of things as well. So they are quite useful there. Suchitra, we have analytics, like we use Tableau internally for now, but then you can definitely use Power BI, Looker, ClickView, or any UX UI tool if you are more comfortable with that. That's your call. So you can use any tool that you feel comfortable as long as you're able to work with it and you're able to communicate your insights well. So Tableau in general is not mandatory, Ravi, to answer your question. Yes, Basra is not a good index. I would strongly advise against using that. So, Ravi, where if an owner comes and asks any question out of the box, right? So we try to answer to the best possible situations, just like everybody, answers your Viva questions. Sometimes it, sometimes it's out of syllabus. You try to work out through that, and it's not necessary that you have to always have all the answers at your fingertips. You can go back saying like, I'm going to work through this and I'll get back to you in a day or two. So you try to work through solutions rather than saying you'll have immediately, I'm going to tell you this is that, so on and so forth. Politics plays a role in selecting a player. I'd like to think not. Right now, like at least with the Royals, politics isn't a thing. So we don't use, like, we are super data driven, and our coaches are also like data driven and objective. So Sangha, Zubin, all of them are like very, very pro data. So they are all they want to be as objective as possible. And so for us, politics doesn't play a role. I can't talk about other teams because I don't know what they do. Karthik, Akash Vashisht is, I think we have high expectations from him because he was really good in the SMA tournament as well, which is why we've selected him. And yes, so he had something called as a catapult vest. So from that, what could be gathered is, for example, things like for bowlers, like you'll figure out like how much they are running up to this crease, so you'll know how much momentum transfer is there for bowlers. You'll know how much is the player load. So, for example, if somebody is in like a red zone, you'll know they're close to being. So, if they bowl one more game, they could be injured. So, you sometimes will then rest that particular player and then not play them so that you can have their career can also be really really extended, and your team also doesn't lose out on that big player. And so Catapult is one that measures physical data. So it measures like speeds, sprints, how much you're exerting, and so on. So helps with load management for a lot of players. Uh, uh, Adamya, yes, you can work in sports analytics even if you're an electrical student. I am a mechanical engineering student, and so I'm in sports analytics, so you can definitely be there. Chinmay, I will unmute you and everything right after I answer all of the questions in the chat box. So, or you can put your questions on the chat box and I'll answer it. Just 1 second. We'll just answer all of these questions. Ethical considerations taken into account. Yeah, like the ethical part of things is one. You should be at least paying for the data that you use, or if it's an open source, you've got to be very, very you know, you've got to at least pay credit to all of them, which is also one of the reasons why we're paying tribute to ClickSheet, because they've helped a lot of budding data analysts and budding data scientists to get to where they are. There are, like the general ethical considerations, stuff like you don't, you know, don't you don't have to like show everybody's data because to the public, because again, some physical data, all of that is private. The ethical considerations will also include data privacy, data, not showing first person data. So you have the full GDPR restrictions, the ethical considerations in that. So, but how much of a drastic effort can it have on team's performance? Can you share an example? So, for example, so the biggest example is the movie Moneyball. So in the Oakland Athletics, they actually had like 20 game winning streak and with the lowest budget in baseball. So, data analytics actually has had like a huge effect on how their team has performed all through the years. And in fact, like, yeah, Brad Pitt played one of the GMs. So, you can actually imagine how big an impact it can have on teams. How can you apply for jobs in sports analytics from Dhritiman? You can just look for job opportunities being posted on job boards and so on. It'll be there. So, just like you apply to any other company, which is not campus. So, off campus roles, you look for company roles in their websites and it'll be there. So, yes, you can look for it. What about a sponsor role? Nitesh, I didn't fully understand the question. So, I think you think they will use data? Sponsorships also use data to some extent. So, that they will use it. So just Kamal Kaur, yes, a CSE student can be sports analytics, can come to sports analytics. Mayank, he has done, but not in situations just like sticking to codes in analysis. But yes, they use different codes for matchups. So again, like what he does is a completely different thing. He's got his own understanding, and then he uses data to get like insights onto like what could be the best possible solution at that point of time. So it's like all of that's quite useful. So like I can answer that question a little bit. Yatin, how do you get to know about the jobs available in this field? As you don't find very easily. So what areas should you search to get an internship or job? So you can look for data engineering roles. So the first thing I would say is that getting a job in India is very hard as compared to getting a job overseas. I know it's not something that everybody would like to hear here at IIT, but given that there are only like 10 big sports teams, the 10 IPL teams in India and the national teams, 11 teams overall, uh, it's a smaller set of teams as compared to the NBA or the EPL, where you already have a minimum of 20, 30 teams who are who can invest in analytics and who can make it big, right? So areas you should search or like job boards you should search are like just the 10 companies websites. You could also look for sports mechanics or kadamba or clickwiz, so the companies that we showed or the who are working with that. Or you can look for fantasy area fantasy companies like dream 11 or my 11 circle. So those are also players that who use that. Those are areas that you could search. Apurv, what makes a data science successful? Sometimes just uh, having like a couple of victories would really help. For example, one personal thing of mine was like we were able to get Raheem Cornwall to the CPL, Caribbean Premier League, and he had one of the best impacts of any player at the CPL. So, you know, that's sometimes having those small wins will help push towards larger wins, and the team will like at the end of the day, the team wins will dictate how you go. So you've just got to be unbiased in your work. You've got to be objective in analysis, and after that, whatever happens, happens. My whole is it challenging to get entry level jobs? Yes, it is challenging to get because the number of companies that do that is very very small because you only have 10 or 11 players who will do that. So it is challenging to get entry level jobs. But the thing is, like I struggled to get back into sports after 5 years. So it'll take time for you to like get into the field, but after that it's goes up very quickly. uh Mayank, you play cricket professionally, you could say it's better to stick on the ground situations than the analysis sometimes. Yeah, like again, data analysis is not like something that you have to do, it's just a prescription. It's at the end of the day it's the captain's call, but sticking to the data sometimes is actually a good thing because people have inherent biases. So it's the end of the day, it's your call. Like, what do you want to do? So, Lakshmi, MBA students can apply. You can apply in the sports field. It's your call. But I'm fairly sure that given that the entry level jobs are not going to be as high paying as an MBA job, I would be very surprised if you actually choose that job. So that can graduates get a job or a master's is a must. You graduates can get a job. So master's is just for different. Master's is like, maybe if you got a master's in data analytics, I would suggest you go to uh, a team that's not in cricket, like football or basketball, because they would value you more than cricket teams. So you could, and they also have the ability to pay you in pounds and dollars, which is more valuable than the rupee, obviously. So, like in the end, once you've done a master's course, it's actually better to do that than start working in cricket, because cricket is still not yet fully mature. Mayank from Udaipur, how is analysis for normal game and big games? We don't do a whole lot of analysis. So sometimes if the grounds are different, you look at certain ground conditions and how games have been played on those grounds. So like this year, the playoffs were in Kolkata and in Gujarat. So we looked at like ground conditions and weather conditions over there, what worked in those grounds. So, but the players would remain the same. So you would still look at like players in a different way, players like how they've done in the tournament and previous tournaments as compared to playoffs, like where you will look at the grounds as well. So how do we? So Shankhan, like how do you ensure that the models are accurate and reliable? You would think that like there are different metrics to analyze that your algorithms are accurate and reliable. So when you start doing a little logistical regression, you'll look at things like RMSE and so on. You'll have mean absolute errors when you do like linear regression. So there are different. Then you'll also have your confidence chart and all of that. So you'll have confidence intervals for it. You have your the confusion matrix, which will give you accuracy, recalls, F1 scores. So that those are also different metrics that you've got. To that. Nitesh, yes, you've got sponsor roles. Like they are available in team, so you can apply for it. So that's yeah, it's there. Like, I don't know the correct question. Like, what do you want to know? What about the sponsor role? Like, how do they use data? Or like, what the exact question that'll help? Kanishak Sliwal, how do you collect data? Maybe use ClickSheet for you're creating a fantasy team. I think use ClickSheet or Cricklytics from cricket.com. They're quite good with it. So, that can help. Jyotishman, you have interest in sports analysis, course available for further studies. I would actually suggest you just to do like your basics in engineering, do maths courses, like understand probability, statistics, and then you can apply it to sports, because if you don't get a job in sports, you don't want to be left stranded. So I would ask you, because the skills are so transferable, I would ask you to do, get skilled in generic concepts that can be applied anywhere, so that you at least have some fallback to go back to rather than just going straight into sports. Yeah, Yash, analytics and auctions very important. Like, you will run a lot of simulations and try to get valuations on players. That's important. So very very useful in auctions. What are the methods used to collect data, especially spatial data? Is it's the same. Like you have a data provider that collects spatial data, sorry, and we use that. Then we go do that. So some important metrics or statistics. So for example, in basketball, like I showed, you have 4 factors. So they've got like rebounding percent, shooting percent, and so on. Some of the things that we use in cricket, I'm not going to let out here, because we've got our own separate things which is proprietary. So I will not talk about that. But in football, like you've got expected goals, expected pass completion rates, you've got progressive passes, like passing between the lines, moderate value, high value passes, high value receptions, and so on. So with that, uh, there are different metrics that you could use. Ravi Yadav, Master of Physical Education, played, yeah, right time to grow in data analytics. Yes. How did you get an opportunity? Like, yes, it's the right time to grow in data analytics. If you wait for the future, like at the end of the day, you know, like there will be enough automation around data science, especially with generative AI, that it's going to be tough. So it's the right time to understand what it is. And how do you get an opportunity in data analysis is just to like wait for the right opportunity. There is no one correct way. Everybody who's in this field has had like a different path to get there. So like the way you would get an opportunity is to put your work out there in public. I'll ask you to read, to write blogs, to like put out videos or explainers in a way that people can understand, and then show applied use of data, which will then catch the eye of people. So every single analyst actually reads a lot of blogs, people who work in this field because they've come through the same path. So maybe if you put things out, people can figure out what you do, like a portfolio of your work, then that will make it much easy for people to evaluate what you do. See how you approach auction tactics. So we look at the auction as in a way where any player that you get has to be either improving your first lineup, and if they are able to do that, we try to put as much as we can on that particular player. You also want to cover for injuries. You want to cover for whenever some players aren't available because of international tours, and so we use a lot of that in trying to approach the auction. So that helps. So how hard is it to select players who quit from every format but only play? I feel it is hard, but then we've got different ways of analyzing that, and then so we put it all together in our algorithms in the back end. We work through that and we figure out a way to analyze players. How do you calculate a bowler's average just runs per wicket? It's the same thing. So average is just runs per wickets anyway. So how do we approach initially towards this when you don't have prior knowledge? I would say learn base of statistics. Statistics is super important. You can also understand like probability, and once you do that, it makes it much easier. There are also courses online like the RSP course. I don't know that could help. There are also courses on Coursera. Like I'm just going to show the RSP one, but Coursera stuff is also pretty good, and that's quite useful. So there are a lot of places to learn it, and there are a lot of people on YouTube who are doing it. So the best way to get started is to just be hands-on with all of these. Yeah. Deacon, if you want to come, I think it's a good course. I haven't seen the full course yet, but I think it's a good course because we're getting like some really good people to write the course. So I would think that it's going to be a really good course, and it doesn't guarantee you a job in sports analytics, but it gives you a good background in understanding how things work, and how you can use your skill sets in order to get into sports analytics, and then when the right job turns up, you just get there. What is your view on digital sciences, data labor, whole day working on data? Yes, it is like at the end of the day, one is physical labor, one is digital labor. So it's just labor. At the end of the day, you're working on data, and yeah, it's just work at the end of the day. MBA in sports management is useful. Yes, it is, but not for a data science role. MBA in sports management helps you become different management level roles. Like you could do, for example, things like a GM of a franchise, managing certain areas like logistics, of cricket operations. So those are things that you will, use. So Nitesh, the logic of the logos of Rajasthan Royals, one is the crest and one is the logo. So there's a full story to it. I'll probably answer it, later. So Chinmay, it's releasing superstar players ahead of mega auction is very, very difficult thing. Like with the Royals, we had like Archer, Butler, Stokes, like and Sanju and like Livingston. All of these guys are like super, super good. So it's very hard if you can't just keep a few of them and release a few. So it's one of the hardest decisions. So we try to be as objective as possible. So so that what skills and expertise are required to be a successful sports data analyst? First thing I would say, curiosity. You know, uh, Like that's the first main thing, asking the right questions, trying to be unbiased. Apart from that, I would say coding, Python, programming, SQL, having visualization, data visualization, then those are the skills and expertise that would be useful for a good data analyst. Apart from the fact that curiosity and of those things as well. How to collect data, like you can write code to collect it. You can find CSVs that will have head-to-head data somewhere. Right? You can rely on other research and all of that ways to collect head-to-head data. So the whole purpose of the webinar, you can ask your moderator as to like what's the purpose of the webinar. So again, on Moneyball movie, why wasn't it working in the initial games? Well, like it just didn't work well because of the if you look at the movie, they were not playing the right lineups, and when they played the right lineups, that data was suggesting it actually worked really well. So it worked in the initial games because of the fact that they didn't apply the data part of it on the field. So kind of goes with that. Yatin, finding quick, amazing players like Tyagis and Parag. Process is like try to be as objective in your subjectivity. It's a big process, but we've got good scouts, we've got good coaches who look at these players and tell how good they are. So it's all on the coaches, the scouts, and how they get these things. So yeah. How do we approach initially? I would say learn statistics, read a lot of these things, and then you'll get more ideas, and then work on some problems that you think could be useful. So you don't force the fact that you've got to go into analytics, sports analytics. It'll naturally come to you when you get the skill sets and you start working towards it. Like read about a lot of research and then you'll get there immediately. Geospatial engineering can be really useful. Yes, GIS is super useful in data analytics and sports. Definitely. But I think there are a lot of repeat questions. Let's come back to that. Hang on. There's a lot of questions. Moderator, like just 1 second. Is the I'm just gonna I've just skipped over a couple of questions, but I will answer all of them. Okay, so I'll just come from sport broadcasting. Yeah, like it's a good course to do when you've already got experience anchoring and sure. Okay. Yeah, Teresa, you can do a sports broadcasting course. So whatever is your choice there. Vardhan, so how do data value match situations? You've got different metrics. And so we look at it internally with different sort of approaches to it. So what do we need to do to maximize our winning probabilities? So we've got different valuation metrics and we work towards that. Those are things we do there. Can you switch into sports management? Yes, you can. Job for all year or just the auction jobs for all year. Can you switch to sports management from finance? Yes, you can. Chances RR will win this season. We've got a very good chance given the quality of players that we've got, like Ashwin, Chehal, Sanju, Joss, and all of that. So Hetmeyer, we're like quite optimistic with the squad. Sure. Mod, can you open the mic for Chinmay, please? Like he's got a question.
Yeah, okay, so
Hi, Krishna. It's
Hello.
Chinmay
Hey.
this side.
Mhm.
So I just want to ask you about the sponsorship that actually a franchise gets. So, for example, right now there are rumors that New Balance is actually being sponsored with us, and also is it a brand actually comes to you, or you go to a brand to get the sponsorship? How does it work? Can you please explain?
So I think there are like different approaches. So it could be there could be agencies that work there. Sometimes the brand approaches you, sometimes you approach the brand. So it's a combination of all of that and not just one way. So it's not a one size fits all, or like just a singular approach. It can be any different way that it happens. I hope that answers your question. Check your muted, Chinmay. The other thing is, like, I obviously cannot comment on like if New Balance a sponsor or not. I'm not aware of whether they are a sponsor or not, so I can't give you the best answer to. The other thing, is it necessary to be a computer science engineer for data analytics? The answer is no. You can be whoever it is, but as long as you understand, you need to know a little bit of maths. That's all I would say. Maths is key, but given that all of you are at IITs, we don't think that that's going to be a big issue for all of you. So, Pratisha, important metrics or statistics. We like obviously averages, strike rates, dismissal rates are all important. Boundary percentage is very important. Phase-wise distribution for players is important. So all of those are like good important metrics that are there. So you can use some of those. And then why are all matches not being played at SMS? Because we're playing a couple of games in Guwahati, and we think it's also important to promote cricket in the Northeast, which is an underrepresented region. So we are super happy to play it in Guwahati as well. That's great. On Mayank, won't be easy against MI. Yeah, Mumbai are never an easy team to play because they've got like high quality match winners throughout. So there is no easy game in the IPL anytime. How do you analyze data before the match? So there are different things we do. We look at matchups. We look at phases where you want to use certain players. How do you approach the game based on your opposition? So who do you want to keep for the last? Who do you want to bowl up first? So different things that you look at based on the opposition, based on the conditions. So sometimes you might want to go in with a different approach based on the conditions as well. If it's a slower wicket, if it's a faster wicket, and so on. So all of that's quite important when we wait all of that. Recent decision that the team did based on data and analytics. So, for example, Jason Holder was a purchase that we made based on data and analytics. We also bid for Harry Brook in the auction. Like you can see our auction videos. But all of those were players that we thought would improve the value of our team and help us get more wins in the season. So signing of certain players were decisions based on data and analytics. Is it benefit to make Guwahati? It's when you like, it's not just a benefit for RR, but it's a benefit for the whole country in terms of having the Northeast be a venue for the IPL. Given that it's the Indian Premier League and the Northeast has not been represented a whole lot, it's great that we have the opportunity to bring it to the Northeast. All of that. Can you change career from sports person to sports analyst? Yes. We are going to get in New Jersey. Yes. Strategy to go all out on Brook was we felt like Brook is going to be one of the players of the future. He is a fantastic player, as you've all seen the test series as well. And in like if you've watched his data or like his games in the blast, so all of that is super great. So we thought that he's a player, who will improve us. So from free passes and giveaway, I'm sorry, you can ask your mods. I think they might have some passes. I don't know. Whoever your moderators are, they will have that. What are do you have any plans of changing name or venue? I don't think we're changing name or venue, but we have a new song, so all of that. Uh, so salary expectations, sports analyst, no, it's not high. Depends on where you go. Teams will be able to pay you more than anybody else because it's a very lucrative business, but it it won't be more than Apple or Google. That's what I would say. So you've got to be putting it at about 70% of what you would find at Apple or Google. Balance analytics with insights and experience of coaches. So yes, that's actually a very good question because coaches, it depends on the level of buy-in that you get from coaches and players. Some people like analytics a lot. Some people don't. Like for example, Ravi Ashwin is super into analysis and data and all of that. So it's great. So he will take in as much information as he wants to get out plans for bowlers, for batters, and so on. So some of them will come and ask you specific questions that they'd like answered. Some of them would like generic strategies. So we don't at the Royals we don't come in and say that we prescribe it. Like we will prescribe particular thing, but we'll give multiple options and then the captain makes the decision. So Sanju is such a great captain, like very calm, makes decisions very nicely. So he takes in all of that and he makes his decision on the field, and we trust our captain to do the right job. uh, uh, Hope to catch up in Dharamshala. Yes, Karthik, great catch up in Dharamshala. Yes, you'll get in touch with Romy, sir. Great man. Definitely when we are in town, we'll definitely catch up. Guys can where can I get free passes for RR matches? I don't know. Like cricket's pitch model, are there any new good pitch models in India? There's probably good pitch models, but then people like teams won't let it out. And I don't think teams are going to tell if they've got any models. Crickwiz is more of a third party business. They're not internal models. So that said, Nitesh, we are going to have in New Jersey, yes. Rishabh, like I mentioned before, bowlers average is runs per wicket. That's the players average. Uh, would it have been a combination for RR if Ben or Cam Green was bought? Yes. But Mayank, obviously, they went for a price larger than the purse that we had available in the auction. So that's obviously couldn't have gotten them. How to get Josh autographed jersey? I don't know. Teresa, maybe could be a super royal. I think there's some super royal fan thing and so on. So Ashwin is more into data. So does he ask about batters who gets out of the crease frequently? We haven't had that question asked to us, but then I think he does a bit of that himself. I don't know. He hasn't asked us that. So Chinmay, why can't we have the OG blue jersey? I think the pink jersey is a tribute to Jaipur as the city, being the pink city. So I will also let them know that you guys like the blue jersey. So we think that McMadul DLS is a combination of it's actually an optimization situation. So DLS is actually based on like the resources remaining in terms of wickets and overs. So it helps us with a lot of that. It's I actually, as much as it gets criticized, it's actually one of the best models that's out there. So that's something to actually read about. To start off with DLS, and that's great. Biggest impact used for analytics, I would say, is in the auction. So Yash, that's a great place to start. RR has low fan following as compared to a few franchises. I don't know why. I think RR has been everybody's best second franchise, like because of Rahul Dravid, Shane Warne, we've had legends of the game who helped us. But once we win championships, I think the fan following will also come. And obviously, competing against Dhoni and Kohli is a big thing, right? So we will get there. What like data went up is there against Sharon. Sorry, I didn't understand that question fully. So ask that if you want to put it on audio, that's great. Right now, like full teams in different places because the international players are playing in international comps. Like Ashwin's playing obviously Border Gavaskar Trophy. So full team is not in Guwahati or in Rajasthan; they are in different places. Optimization techniques that we use, like, there are different ones. So we do have like we use some heuristics. We use a little bit of you know we use a little bit of linear regression, logistic regression. Those are things that we use frequently. But apart from that, we do work a little bit with neural nets and so on. So a lot of different things over there. But like I think your question on spatial optimization is actually quite relevant. I don't like. Do you work closely with GIS? I think looks like you might be doing that, and if so, that's great place to work. Can data analysts become sports data analysts? Absolutely. Has analytics changed the team culture? Yes, absolutely. We try to be as objective as possible, so it has changed the approach to the game. Yes, we'll try to conduct more of these webinars as long as I don't. As long as it doesn't clash with any of the games, so we'll definitely try to conduct some of these webinars. You can approach your state or district team. Will states have vacancies? It's a very good question. States will have vacancies, but more often than not, they have contracts with some other companies that have analysts sent to them. But then what I would say is, given that you're all in IIT and you all are having a chance to be, very, very lucrative entry level engineers. So I would say that you guys have a good chance to make more money than go into a state district analysts. So I would tell you to actually do your job first and learn analytics in general, and then find out some place which actually values your skill set rather than just going straight to your state and saying they'll give you like maximum 2 lakhs a year or 3 lakhs a year. You'll make more money at Infosys than working at your state team. That much I'll tell you. So DP, yes, spatial optimization is really, really good. I'll definitely think about doing a little more of that. It's not just useful in sports; it's useful in multiple fields. So especially in like urban planning and areas like that. So I definitely that's a great place to look at. Coding, why do different teams, what different, so CSK and MI do? I don't know, CSK have Dhoni, MI have Rohit Sharma. I obviously think that they will have different approaches to it. Everybody can have different approaches. So, I don't know what they do because I've not worked. So, can't give you an idea of what they do. Is coding necessary to become an analyst? A little bit of coding will help you. I wouldn't say it's fully necessary to be a video analyst, but coding is necessary to become like a data analyst. So, I would urge you to learn a little bit of Python coding. Basic Python coding will go a long way. Cricket player to become a cricket analyst, understanding data, of that is really, really useful. A bit of coding and some of the skill sets that we said with databases and all of that is really will go a long way. Is RR planning to have its team in the WPL? If yeah, actually yes, we also were one of the bidders for WPL team. Just didn't get it. We would definitely love to do that. So what's so difference between video analyst and data analyst? Video analyst does a lot more with video, and data analysts obviously do a lot more with data. So data has got very broad application, but videos are like very specific to two particular players at that point of time. So data analysts and video analysts work, in combination with each other. So data analysts will find a pattern, send it to the video analysts who put together a lot of different things. They'll also then look at like a couple of deep levels into like what happened in certain situations and so on. So video analyst role is actually a little more specific than the data analysts. So video analysts will look at things like techniques and all of that, things that aren't seen in data itself. Why are RCB not winning a title? I don't want to go into that. I have different reasons for it, but I will not talk about it right now. Do you think we really need to learn coding? I think you need to learn a little bit of coding or to become a data analyst. Again, very clear that for being in the data field, you need to do a bit of coding. If you want to be a video analyst, you can get away with no coding, but you need a bit of coding to be in the data field. That's that much I would say. But I don't know whether Basu Shankar employs analytics. I don't know a lot about him, so sorry. That how do we become data analytics? I would say learning maths, coding, reading a lot, and all of that. Is Java necessary for a sports analyst? Java could be useful because you could do data analysis with Java as well. People prefer Python and R because it's easier than Java. But if you find you find Java to be useful, then please go ahead with them. Just come on. So Jersey launch date, I have no idea. Sorry. Thank you, Yash. Thank you, Mayank. Thank you, Tej. Python and SQL are good tools to yes. For being a data analyst, yes, Python and SQL are definitely very, very useful. I would honestly recommend you learning that. And worst case is that even if you don't get a job in sports analytics, you will be able to get a job in Apple, Google, Meta, any startup in Bangalore or anywhere in the country. Freshworks, Zoho. So I would ask you to learn Python and SQL if you want to. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you all for the session. I'm so sorry to have spoken much. Somebody, I think, raised their hands if they want to ask a question. Yeah. Also, there's a new song that we've released, given that everybody has, asked for stuff. I've also put in a link to our video, so we've got like a new anthem at the Royal. So I'd just like to send that over. I think with Trivedi was all of that is there. So yeah. So when will we get certificate moderator? I think that is your area. Mayank Sharma. 2 words about Ash. Now Ashana is like as he's a genius, I would say. It's a phenomenal creator, one of a modern day legend. So he helps in analytics as well. Yes, he is very, very pro analytics and he's a really smart fellow. So I would say he's a player who's ahead of his time. So in terms of analytics, when will you get certificates? I don't know. Like you've got to talk to your moderator. So RR admin, I don't think you'll be able to see
Yeah,
the RR.
we'll let you soon in the WhatsApp group that you have joined
So
regarding certificates.
Ravi, how can we connect? I think I maybe you could just do it on LinkedIn or some other social media profile, and maybe if you all have any questions, you can ask them on LinkedIn if you find my profile there. Yeah, if somebody has like audio questions, you could just do that. Yes, Shaktivel, yes, Ashana speaks in Tamil Pesuvar. I would prefer LinkedIn over IG because takes IG is just a lot of time for me. I don't use a lot of IG.
If anyone wants to ask any questions, you can raise your hand. I'll unmute you.
Yes, Shaktivel Falabol. Yes. Mayank, how can we join the RR Academy in Nagpur? Like, you want to be a cricketer? Like, what is your goal? You want to be an analyst or so on? So, I don't know what is your thing. I don't know what is your goal. So I think that's a different thing over there. I'll also share, I think, my LinkedIn profile with the moderator at the end of the call, so that could be sent to you later on. Sorry, I'm not giving away free passes or a New Jersey. So sorry for that. I am not allowed to. If I have the chance, I would have loved to give everybody. So but I don't think I have the ability to give you a free tickets. I'm so sorry for that. Next time, I will suggest that to my my team here. You'll see. Okay. Dhruv, yes, teams take data analysts to auction. If you've seen the arrivals table, you can see our senior analyst Panish over there. So he is the auction table. So, yeah. Ravi Yadav, you got a trial opportunity, but you got an accident. I'm so sorry for that. Maybe next year for the trials, or you can join cricket, cut ticket. Maybe. Thank you all for all your wishes. I get that. Meeting you all. So if there's no other questions, moderators, I think there's somebody's raising their hands. Want to check that?
Yeah, I did unmute them, but
Okay. Data we see before match, we've got different things. So you look at venue conditions and all of that. So do that. So we've got like different phases, different trips. We look at that, strike rates, averages. So yes, Shaktivel will tell Sanju and Ash. Later on. Deeply, where can we read more about my work? My work is after I joined the Royals, a lot of my work online has been hidden, so I've taken it down because it was I didn't put it out there. But you can definitely read with different sports. Lots of other sports analysts. There are a lot of places for other sports like football and basketball, and I think those are sports that are actually more analytical than cricket. So I would ask you to read those online and then go from there. I would definitely think about reading football and basketball before coming to cricket. Because those are much more advanced than cricket, for sure. Sanju Samson signed jersey. I have no clue. You could maybe be a super royal. For fans who are interested in learning more about sports analytics, any tips or advice? Read a lot. I would ask you to read a lot and understand what's going on in every field, maybe attend conferences, work on things, a couple of projects that help you on your own and all of that. So you know then it'll automatically come. So you can apply it to any different domain and so yeah, if you want to leave the meeting, more than welcome, and Rishabh. Not going to force you to stay here. It's not like you have to be here. It's your choice, man. How do you become a super royal? I will let you know about that. Let me just give me 1 second. Gonna see if we can figure that part of it out, but see that. Um, I think you should be able to find being like a super royal on our website. So you'll be able to find that out there. For the ongoing Yatin, like I will get back to you guys. So if somebody wants to be a super royal, I'll get back to my team and then uh, you know we'll contact the moderator to reach out to you on what needs to be done for becoming a super royal. So Mayank, a test match, I will get back to you. We don't do a lot of test match analysis, so that's the thing. So the analysis for all franchises when they are playing in their home ground, it is different because the advantages are that they get used to the conditions much earlier than everybody else. So boundary sizes and soil types, all of that advantages that each team's got. So those are things. You see Guwahati, what you would see is like full stadiums. You'll see a lot of runs, I assume, because they want to promote cricket as well. So Guwahati is going to be a good ground. It's a big ground. It's a very nice place to play cricket. Weather is great, so I assume you'll see like a lot of good things. Yeah. Sports analytics opportunities. I don't know if there are a lot in cricket, but you can look at it in other sports as well for sure. You know, on other sports, you can definitely look at. There are roles in, and P Dog. I don't talk a lot of P Dog, but P Dog's popular. He's also like a very good analyst as well. He worked with JSK recently, and he works with South African team. So, and I think the Highfeld team as well. So that's good. Platforms from where you can learn data analytics. You can learn from the RSB courses, I guess. Uh, Indian Super League teams also have the analysts, but I don't know much about the ISL. Sorry. Yeah. Else, yeah, I think that's about it. I guess unless there's anything else. Thank you all for your kind words. Uttej, thank you for the kind words. Unless there's anything else.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah,
I
I
would
hope
like
I
to
didn't
thank
bore
each and
everybody.
every. No, sir, not at all.
Yeah.
I would like to thank each and every participant for the engagement in the discussion. One more piece of information for the participants that the annual Tech Fest of IIT Roorkee, Cognizance, is near the corner. I mean, 24th to 26th of March. Uh, like you can register for various events and workshops. The link for the same will be shared in your WhatsApp groups. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, analytics helps in fitness as well. Yeah, exactly well. Thank you all. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Cheers.